The night was still, the sky clear, when something impossible happened. Witnesses stared in awe as the moon, solid, unchanging, a celestial constant since the dawn of time, split into two distinct halves before their eyes. Then, as if time itself reversed, it fused back together. This wasn't a myth, a hallucination, or a trick of the light. According to Islamic tradition, this was a divine miracle performed by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in response to the challenge of disbelievers. The Quran itself preserves this moment in Surah Al-Qamar. The hour has drawn near, and the moon has split. But here's what makes this story even more compelling. It wasn't just recorded in Islamic texts. Accounts from other civilizations, including Indian and Chinese historical records, speak of an inexplicable lunar event around the same period. So the question isn't just whether it happened, it's whether modern science has stumbled upon evidence buried in the dust of the moon itself. Let's rewind for a moment. The story begins in Mecca, where the early Muslim community faced relentless opposition. The leaders of the Quraysh, the dominant tribe at the time, demanded proof of the Prophet's divine mission. They wanted something undeniable, something beyond human capability. And so, the Prophet raised his hand, and the moon was cleft asunder. It wasn't a fleeting vision. It remained split long enough for people to see it, to confirm it, to know without doubt that what they were witnessing defied the natural order. Some ran in terror, others fell to their knees. Even the staunchest skeptics were shaken. But as with all miracles, those who refused to believe found excuses. They called it sorcery, an illusion. Yet the event was so widely attested that it became etched into history. Now, fast forward 14 centuries, humans have walked on the moon. Probes have mapped its surface down to the smallest crater. And in the age of satellite imagery and high-resolution lunar scans, an intriguing claim has emerged. Some researchers believe they found a physical trace of that ancient miracle, a peculiar fissure, a jagged scar running across the lunar terrain, as if the moon had once been torn apart and imperfectly stitched back together. Could this be the remnant of that supernatural event? Skeptics, of course, have their explanations. The moon's surface is a graveyard of ancient impacts, volcanic activity, and tectonic shifts. Cracks and rills, long, narrow depressions, are common. But what makes this particular fissure stand out is its uncanny alignment with the descriptions of the split. It's not just a random fracture, it's a near-perfect line, as though something or someone had cleanly divided the moon in two. This is where psychology enters the conversation. Human beings are pattern-seeking creatures. We see faces in clouds, shapes in shadows, meaning in randomness. It's called apophenia, and it's why some people see the Virgin Mary in a piece of toast or hear hidden messages in backward music. So when believers look at a lunar fissure and see divine confirmation, and skeptics dismiss it as pareidolia, both are engaging in the same cognitive process, just from opposite sides. But here's the critical distinction. The moon splitting wasn't just a visual phenomenon. It was a mass event, witnessed by multiple cultures, recorded in multiple sources. That's harder to explain away as mere coincidence. What does science actually say? NASA has never confirmed, and likely never will, that any lunar feature is evidence of a miracle. The official stance is that all observed fissures are the result of natural processes. But then again, science operates within the framework of natural laws, and miracles, by definition, exist outside them. If the moon was truly split by divine intervention, would it leave behind a geological fingerprint? Or would the act of restoration erase all traces, leaving only the testimonies of those who saw it? This leads us to a deeper question. What is the nature of proof when it comes to the unseen? The Quran repeatedly challenges humanity to reflect, to ponder, to observe the signs in the universe. But it also makes it clear that faith is not, and cannot be, solely dependent on physical evidence. Because if miracles were empirically verifiable at all times, belief would cease to be a choice. It would be compulsory, a forced acknowledgement rather than a conscious submission. So where does that leave us today? The moon splitting is more than just a historical claim. It's a lens through which we examine the intersection of faith and reason. For believers, the absence of scientific validation changes nothing. The miracle lives in the transmitted truth of those who witnessed it. For skeptics, no amount of circumstantial evidence will ever be enough. And perhaps that's the ultimate lesson. The Quran doesn't present the splitting of the moon as a puzzle for scientists to solve, but as a sign for those willing to see beyond the material. In the end, the real miracle may not be whether NASA finds proof, but whether we, in an age of satellites and skepticism, can still recognize the extraordinary when it stares us in the face. The moon was split once. The question is, are we still paying attention?